Hey, greetings and welcome to Code Cookie. Today we're going to be looking at control flow in Ruby. So once again, please like, share, subscribe, and most importantly, as I paste the instructional in the video description, please reach out to me in the comments any way you can assist you, any way you guys can assist me as we go on this journey through learning Ruby together. Just an overview of Ruby. Ruby is definitely a great programming language too. And it's great because of what we're going to learn right here. It's control flow, right? And control flow means ways you can get around issues so you don't have to write more code, right? And JavaScript is terrible at this. You know, JavaScript like these shortcuts is complex, but it really comes to avoiding issues, especially async code, right? You're going to see your code balloon up 10, if not 100, if not 1,000 times just to deal with problems. And then in that, right, you're going to have to deal with those exceptions just to make sure that certain parts of your code are functioning before you wrote that 1,000 lines of code the same way after you wrote those 1,000 lines of code, right? That was issues you get in JavaScript, you don't get with Ruby, right, because of its control flow. And that's what we're going to taking a beginning dive into today. So let's go ahead and get started. Right, so in control flow, what we have is conditional operators. We have 4 of them: if, else, if, like else if it's actually one word, right, in Ruby, which is pretty nice. It makes it different. I always like things that are different in other programming languages. And we also have the else operator, and then right followed by the and. So every time we're dealing with conditional, operators. You always want to follow them up with and to indicate that's the end of the conditions you're trying to look at. And what we have here in the info, I'm just going to go ahead and create a new file. What we're doing is that when we're dealing with the if statement, what we're doing is that when we deal with our if statements, I'm going to save as I conditional.rd. What we do when you say dealing with our if statements, what we have are just basically asking a question, right? We're asking here if x is greater than y. Let me use numbers. Just because it's the easier, right? If x is greater than y, what we want to go ahead and do is we want to be able to put one is less than 2, right? You want to be able to complete some sort of code, right? So here we have is a statement, right? So if 1's less than 2, right, we're going to put one is all less than 2, right? So we go ahead, we run this code. Right? Oh, comparison. Clear. Right? 1 is less than 2. So if that's the case, then we get that 1 is less than 2. Right? So say if you want to have another comparison being done, say if you just get a little more complex with our code, right? We can JavaScript has this too, but we use that else if operator, right? But you see how more like compact this does in JavaScript, right? What you have your if statement, right? You bracket that up, then you have your else if, then you bracket that up, and then you kind of have your else, and you just see how big and scary that looks, right? Instead of that, in our Ruby, what we have is we kind of everything looks like it belongs to one block, and always the indentation is not needed, but the convention is under every conditional. For the code that is associated with the conditional, you want to have a space size of 2 or a tag size of 2 spaces. All right. So else if so let's send this around, right? In the else if, right? Say for example, if this is false, as 1 is greater than 2, right? 3, then that'll be false, and then we go, 3 is greater than 2, right? So we run this code again, right? 3 is greater than, I'm telling you, my grammar is not the best here. But the code is still working, the grammar is not. Really with Ruby, I guess what it is, you just focus on the grammar more than the actual coding, which I could just do anytime. I'd rather rewrite a sentence in Ruby than rewrite some code in JavaScript over and over and over again. So, right, so 3 is greater than 2 because there's only so many times you can ruin a sentence, but you don't know where the bugs are when you're rewriting code. All right, so that's that. All right, and now say for example, if that is false as well, say 3 is less than 2, which is not, and you have no more comparatives, you could place that is good at math as grammar as well, right? You could also put that, and let me just like kind of use the Ruby quotes here. I always love trying to differentiate, trying to make stand out what is different between languages, because that's how you know I'm working with a different language or not. All right. So now 1 is greater than 2. That's false. 3 is less than 2. That's false. Right. So we have no more comparisons to make. We want to go ahead use the else clause. Right. So that's going to be that. Right. Try to put this in a function. I'll just comment this out for now. Right. So say for example, EJN. Right. So if you wanted to work with that, you want to just remove the begin and the end, the multi-line comments as we discussed earlier. So say for example, right now, right, if else if, right, they're asking if a situation's true. But if you want to ask if a situation's false, what we also have in Ruby, which I love, is the unless operator. So now unless 1 is greater than 2, right, we're going to put this code here, right? So now the unless operator is the opposite of if. It's basically asking if the conditional is false. So now 1 is greater than 2, right? It's false. So when you think about it grammatically, right, it's going to be difficult. You already see I'm not doing well as grammar, but what's happening here is like it's like a pseudo else, right? So basically, if I get, say for example, if I'm looking for colors, basically, unless unless answer unless answer equals red, right? So answer equals red, it's looking for this to be true, right? So answer, let's say answer equals yes, right? So if this is looking, usually this will be looking to equal true, right? So unless the answer equals red, do some operation here. So say if the color is blue, say if the color is green, right? You could say wrong answer, try again, right? So now we can run it again, right? We can say answer is blue, wrong answer, try again, okay? Right, so we're looking, so the unless operator is looking for something to be false. This is very important because sometimes you can't use not, and we're going to explain this, so you can't explain things in terms of fault. You can't try to create a conditional that's going to lead to that false, or it's going to lead to that exception to that inclusion. So when unless you use unless, grammatically it's a conclusion, it's everything but red, as you can see here. Unless I get an answer of red, do this code, right? And sometimes you can't express that. That's why we need that unless operator, because we could say answer is not equal to red, but what about all these other colors? You actually want that unless to go ahead and work, right? Or you're just going to write more code to try to express that. See, in JavaScript, we don't have that unless, so we write more code just to try and express that. Right? So that's enough with that. So let us move on to the comparison operators. So what we have here There's 6 comparison operators, right? Where we're working with the conditionals. We can use equals, not equals, less than, or equal to, greater than, or equal to. Right? There's probably more there. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this code block, I'm going to paste it, and we are going to run, and we're going to try to see, right, the values. Right, we're going to try to see the values. All right, so test 1 is 77, right? Is 77 not equal to 77, right? That's obviously false. So you're going to get false. Right, so test 2 is 4 not equal to -4, right? Is 4 less than or equal to -4? Well, it's equal to -4, so we'll put true, and we get true, right? All that is stuff. Gather is not there, but my coding is. That's okay. That's what I love about reading. 44 less than -33, right? So it's 44. So if 0 is greater than -1, then -2 is less than -1, and so on. So 44 is -44 is less than -33. Write that be true. And then test 4 is 100 equal to 1,000. I'm not asking it's greater, it's less than, only equal to. Right, so that's going to be false, and then so that will be false. So let me go ahead and edit the readme, right? So it can indicate that it can ask you just refer back to the code to look at it, right? So now next after that, what we have is Boolean operators. Right, so Boolean operators, right, we could work with, right? And now we have the and, right? So the and operator, it's asking if both sides of the and operator are true, right? This is like gets a little more complex, right? Than just greater than or equal, right? So it's saying if 77 is less than 78 and 77 is less than 77, right? What is going to happen? Is that true? Is false? And it's false because 77 is less than 77 and true. So we have a false and true. So both of these need to be true in order for this to work. If that's not the case, then we are just going to get false, like so. Right? So let's kind of zoom in. So we have true, and we have true, and 100 is greater than or equal to 100. 100 is equal to 100, and we have true. So we're gonna have true on this side. Right? We have 2 raised to the third is 8th, and 3 raised to the 2 is 9. They're both true, right? And that is that. So and also another thing in math, right? I think when we see the double asterisk, that means an exponent. I think it should be. I think personally, it should be exponent. It should be exponential, as you can see here, but they don't. But it's a double asterisk. That means um value raised to the power of like 2, 3, or 4, right? So the next operator we have is OR, right? So when you have the OR operator, that means only one side counts, right? That means only one side has to result in true in order for things to work. So we go ahead, clear, we go ahead and run the program, right? So we have 2 raised to the power of the 3 is not equal to 3 raised to the power of true. Well, it doesn't matter, right? What's important is when you see or true, it's going to always result in true, right? When you see and false, it's always going to result in false, right? So, but this now we have to evaluate. Is 10 greater than -9? No, it's not false or false. That's always going to be false. False or false, right? Always going to be false. Okay. Great. And now we have the not operator. Just basically, this is the opposite. So say if you have like a complex evaluation and you just want to reverse it, you can use the not operator. We're going to go ahead and take a look at this. Right. Right. So being true, what's the opposite of true is false. What's the opposite of, well, it's basically when evaluate these false and false, right? It's just going to be false. You need both of them to be true. So 100 divided by 10 is 70, is equal to 70. That's true. And the opposite of that is false, right? All false right there. right? And now after that, right, you can work with complex ones. After you understand, right, you can get complex. You can start to try to put everything together. And then when you try to make more complex out of conditions, what you want to use is the parentheses. You can see here, you put these in parentheses, so so you can evaluate these first, just like PEMDAS. It's very similar to PEMDAS, right? Parentheses, everything in parentheses first. When you deal with conditionals in Ruby, right? Everything in parentheses gets handled first, all right, and then so on. All right, so thank you for watching. Thank you for watching. That is our lesson on control flow in Ruby. Pretty nice, pretty neat, pretty straightforward. Unlike JavaScript, I found, doing this in JavaScript would be rough, but Ruby, I kind of like how neat that was. So please like, share, subscribe. As I put an instructional in the video link in the description. Most importantly, reach out to me in the comments, all right? Any way I can help you guys learn Ruby, any way you can help me learn Ruby better, would be much appreciated. So thanks for watching.